This episode of On the Record is brought to you by B&D Rollers. B&D Rollers is the only manufacturer in the world to make new aftermarket hay conditioner rollers. The Crusher hay conditioning rollers have the ability to run on any machine, regardless of color or brand. I'm Executive Editor Kim Schmidt. Welcome to On the Record. Here's an update on what's currently impacting the ag equipment industry. In an environment marked by trade conflicts, the coronavirus outbreak, and ongoing low commodity prices, North American agriculture has few assurances about what's ahead. But the one thing they can count on is dealer consolidation. In the past year, the number of farm equipment dealerships that operate 5 or more ag store locations increased by 4 from 187 to 191, according to Ag Equipment Intelligence's 2020 Big Dealer Report. In the past 10 years, big dealer groups have grown by nearly 12%. But the most striking growth during the past decade has come in the ranks of the largest dealers. Those operating 20 or more store locations have grown by 300%, from 8 in 2011 to 24 in 2020, while the number of dealership groups operating between 15 and 19 stores has grown by 360%, from just 5 in 2011 to 23 in 2020. During this period, dealerships operating 5 to 9 retail locations declined by 23%, falling from 128 groups in 2011 to 99 in 2020. The impact of the growth of the biggest dealers can also be seen in the number of stores they operate. In 2011, 13 dealership networks with 15 or more store locations operated an estimated 311 stores. This year, those with 15 or more stores has grown to 47 groups that operate nearly 1,100 individual store locations. On average, these big dealers operate slightly more than 23 locations each. The 2020 Big Dealer Report will be issued to Ag Equipment Intelligence subscribers and available to others next week. Now here's Jack Zemlicka with the latest from the Technology Corner.
Thanks, Kim. Improving the reach and reliability of digital broadband into rural areas, including farm operations in less densely populated parts of the country, remains a challenge. But a potentially cost-effective solution outlined in a new report from CoBank's Knowledge Exchange Division suggests that wireless network sharing could be an affordable way to expand digital coverage. As explained by Jeff Johnston, lead communications economist with CoBank, network sharing involves multiple wireless operators sharing radio equipment on a tower to provide connectivity to their respective customers. Network sharing is a way for national wireless operators to reduce their network cost structure in rural America. The average investment in the construction of a new tower can be upwards of $200,000 by a single company. Splitting the cost among 3 companies would allow operators to provide coverage in rural areas at a third of the cost, Johnston says. One of the primary benefits for farm equipment dealers would be increased market opportunity to expand precision product and service revenue.
For example, the cost barriers coming down for the large operators to provide 5G coverage, you would expect to see the addressable market go up, hopefully significantly, for dealers and for service providers in precision ag to be able to provide services into a larger market.
Johnston also acknowledges the solution has barriers to getting widespread buy-in, including a potential reluctance by large tower owners to allow network sharing, because less equipment on a tower equates to less revenue for operators. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Jack. The first quarter of 2020 ended on a sour note for sales of farm tractors and combines in both the U.S. and Canada. All equipment categories in March, except for over 100 horsepower tractors in Canada, were down double digits for the month, according to sales figures released by the Association of Equipment Manufacturers. The most telling sign for sales was the drop-off in sales of the under 40 horsepower tractor category. This equipment is often purchased by residential consumers and hobby farmers who are likely experiencing the early pressures from COVID-19, according to analysts. The compact tractor sales decline in March was the largest since October 2009, more than 10 years ago. For the first quarter of 2020 versus the same period in 2019, ag equipment sales in the U.S. were improved overall compared to March figures. But the first quarter sales in Canada were mixed and generally continued the trend Canadian ag machinery dealers have been experiencing during the past 2 years or more. Year-to-date, compact tractor sales in the U.S. fell nearly 9% and were down by nearly 16% in Canada. In the 40 to 100 horsepower category, U.S. sales were off 6.4% and down by more than 15% in Canada. Sales of tractors over 100 horsepower were down by less than 1% in the U.S. and off by 13.4% in Canada. Year-to-date, four-wheel drive tractor sales in the U.S. were off by about 7%, but down by more than 37% in Canada during the first quarter of the year. Through the first 3 months of the year, U.S. combine sales are off slightly more than 18%, but Canadian sales of harvesters were 37% lower compared to the first quarter of 2019. Artsway Manufacturing announced its financial results for the first quarter of its fiscal year 2020 on April 13th. Consolidated sales for the first quarter were $5 million, up 21.9% from the $4.1 million reported during the same period in fiscal 2019, an increase of $902,000. The company says the increase is due to increased sales across all three of the company's business segments. Consolidated net loss for the quarter was $437,000 compared to a net loss of $606,000 for the same period in fiscal 2019. First quarter sales in the agricultural products segment were $3 million, up 13.1%, or $343,000, compared to $2.6 million for the same period in fiscal 2019. The company said the revenue improvement was due to increased demand across manure spreaders, dump box, and grinder product lines. Chairman of the Artsway Board of Directors, Mark McConnell, said the company lowered its expectations for the year due to the impact of COVID-19. He said, "The impact of COVID-19 has brought new challenges to our business and leaves us uncertain as to what to expect from a demand perspective for the balance of the year." Purdue's Ag Economy Barometer saw the largest one-month decline in its history in March. The reading for the month was 121, down 47 points from February. Declines in agricultural commodity prices and concerns about the coronavirus crisis impact on the U.S. economy and agriculture sector weighed heavily on farmer sentiment in March. This month's decline in the barometer erased the sentiment improvement that took place this past fall and winter and leaves the index unchanged from its September 2019 reading. Farmers' concerns about a deteriorating agricultural business climate were also evident in their responses regarding possible capital investments, which includes machinery, buildings, and farmland. The Farm Capital Investment Index fell 18 points to an index value of 54, its lowest reading since last May, when many farmers were faced with wet weather and delayed planting. As always, we welcome your feedback. You can send comments and story suggestions to kschmidt@lestermedia.com. Until next time, thanks for joining us.